Hi, and welcome back to my channel. So, we're kicking off another reading vlog. This one is going to be spaced a little bit differently. I'm going to do Monday to Monday. So this is a Monday when I'm filming it because I have Friday and this coming Friday and next Monday off. So hopefully I can get some more reading done. This was on last week's TBR and I did not get to it. This is the second of the two arcs that I have, physical arcs that I have, and that is the Lucky Ones. And then I'm going to get to, hopefully, the second book in the Magnus Chase series, as well as The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. So I'm going to try to prioritize these books first. I'm also listening to Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I'll probably finish that this week, even though it's the longest book, because I'm listening to it at 2 times speed. I am also still reading Permission to Feel, and I'm also going to finish Krakatoa. I'm about 116-ish pages into that. So that's my plan for this week. Yesterday, Sunday, I finished The Mysterious Howling. You'll see more about my thoughts about that in the wrap-up, and I read about those 100 pages of Krakatoa. So that was sort of an in-between day. It's later than normal today because I watched the bus riders for the late bus, and then I had a meeting, which hopefully will go well. Well, I mean, it did go well, but I'm waiting to hear some things from that meeting. So later start than normal, quickly gonna start the vlog with this intro and then catch up with you tomorrow. Hey, so I'm updating on Tuesday, forgetting, what day it is. I am wearing my new sweatshirt. It's a Molly Seidel quote, well-behaved marathoners don't make history. Yeah, well-behaved marathoners seldom make history. That's the actual quote. It's a play off of one of my favorite quotes from Laurel Ulrich, a historian. Well-behaved women seldom make history. And I love it because Molly Seidel is quickly becoming one of my favorite marathoners. And so it's super comfy. I don't normally wear sweatshirts like this because it doesn't even have a hood, but it's so comfortable. I want to wear it all the time. I'm talking so much about my sweatshirt because I don't have much of a reading update. I did not read that much yesterday. I did listen to Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, so I got a chunk done on there. And then I did attempt to read more of Krakatoa before I went to bed, and I think I got like 8-10 pages before I started falling asleep, like hardcore falling asleep. And I think it's just because my body was super tired, because I was super tired this morning. So didn't get a lot of that done, but this morning I did get a little farther in Permission to Feel. So I'm hoping that over today and tomorrow to be able to get in more of Krakatoa. The book is down there, that's why I'm pointing at it. So not much of an update, but it's a little update. Only 2 more days until a long weekend. Can it come quicker, please? So I'm updating for my classroom, wanted to get this in, get the update in, and also wanted to show my classroom shelves a little bit. So this is my classroom, and behind me, that is the flag of Njanstan. So it is just a llama superimposed on the Armenian flag. But that's my classroom because I teach geography. So I'm gonna come back here. That's my classroom shelves. So they don't get super used, but again, I'm not an ELA teacher this year, but here's what we have. So I'm using the top shelf for all of the books. I definitely surprise the kids when I tell them that, yes, I have indeed read every book on that top shelf. So I have to clarify the top shelf because then they're like, oh, have you read the Atlas? I'm like, no, but again, they're 7th grade. So I'm trying to be wise with my time and do this update now so I have more reading time tonight because I did not read a lot yesterday. And these updates so far earlier in the week are shorter because I just lost my train of thought. Oh, because I'm reading the 5th Harry Potter book and I've read it so much. I'm not gonna give an update on it, but I'm about halfway through with that. It's definitely, the 5th book is definitely my favorite. There's just so many good things. in that book. So I'm trying to be productive at school, but then they go and they throw in an incentive schedule, which means less planning. So anyway, quick 360 of my classroom, because there's no students in here because I'm on planning, lots of flags. So there's my classroom, there's my update. I didn't read any of Krakatoa. I literally just read the book in Spanish that I read every day, and the Cultivating, what's it called? No, that's the other book I read. This Translating Childhoods, the other book that I read every day. So I read a little bit of that, both those two, and then listened to Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, and that was it for yesterday. So low reading day, but I'm hoping to be productive and get a lot more reading done today. So it is Friday morning. We have the day off work, 4-day weekend. Yay, because we have President's Day off as well, which I mentioned at the beginning of the blog. Finally finished Krakatoa. This book took so long to read. I realized Simon Winchester is a bit pretentious in his books, and it took me so long to get into it at first because he was talking about all the like science stuff about like plate tectonics, and I normally am interested in that when I expect it. This is supposed to be about the day that Krakatoa exploded. He doesn't get to that till about 150, 200 pages into the book. Took you long enough. So there's that. I had read about 115, 120 pages or so, maybe a little bit more throughout the week. And then so I decided last night, because I had the day off, I'm gonna get up, I'm going to spend the morning reading. That's gonna be the first thing I do. I did not expect it to take me 3 hours. 3 hours to read 200-ish pages. For me, that's a long time. Especially when it's not dense and it has illustrations, not a lot of them, but it has different like newspaper clippings, scientific diagrams sprinkled throughout. And then as I was finishing it, there's a chapter towards the end of the book when it's dealing with the ramifications from the explosion of Krakatoa, where Simon Winchester starts to talk about the increasing Muslim influence in Indonesia. They were like little like red flags to me, subtle, I guess you could call them microaggressions, but just these words and the way that he phrased it, it gets to the whole bigoted, like everything's bad about Muslims and this is why there's so many problems. In a book that I didn't already like, this was like, no. So I don't know. I still have about 4 or 5 of his books on my TBR that I put on a while ago, and some of his books are fine. This one is at a point where I'm like, I don't even know that I want to read any more of his, and it's really because of that, like, that subtle superiority that he puts in, especially in that chapter. I do plan to read more of the Harry Potter book on the audiobook and do lots of cross-stitching hopefully today. And hopefully I'll be able to finish that one as well, because I want to be able to start the audiobook for Addie LaRue. I have the physical copy, but then when I realized that the audiobook was available, I decided to get that one. And it's a good thing because my physical copy is due in 3 days and I can't renew it because there's a hold on it. I'm gonna get some stuff done on the computer. Maybe finally get to those observation reports that I mentioned in last week's vlog. Yeah, good thing I have 5 business days and we have days off. Maybe finally get to those. And then I am meeting a couple former students who, one of them had texted me and asked for help for writing a recommendation letter. So we're gonna meet at the downtown library, and I don't know how long that'll take. Probably not a super long time, but that's my day. I probably will check in a little bit later depending on what I read or don't read, so. Hey, so if I sound out of breath, that's because I literally just finished my long run, and I finished it by walking up the giant hill by my house. You know, I knew it was gonna happen. So it's Saturday afternoon. I actually have been reading a lot. I'll talk about that in a second. This morning,
read a little bit, then got a few miles in because while my mom was in Israel, she didn't run, so she wasn't going to do the whole long run with me. And then I rode with my grandpa and my aunt and her husband out to my mom's house to celebrate my grandpa's 94th birthday. Yeah, tomorrow he's turning 94. He's like the coolest person ever. So we did that, and then we ate breakfast there, and I brought my book with me. I learned from my brother-in-law, and I brought the book with me. And so after we ate, while everyone was just like chit-chatting, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go sit on the couch and I'm gonna read some more. So that brings me to the reading update for this book. Now this book is the ARC that I have. It is due to come out April 12th or 22nd, one of those days this year. I am not sure what I think about the book. So it's along the same veins as something like Bud Not Buddy or The Watsons Go to Birmingham by Christopher Paul Curtis, only not as good. That saddens me a little bit. And part of the thing that I started thinking about is, so I think it was Ashley from Bookish Realm was talking about the fact that so many of these stories, they're telling this perspective, but it's like the hardship. It's always talking about the hard, difficult things. That's certainly the case for Ellis Earl, who is the main character here. His family, there's like 15 of them in a house. It was 11 at the start, and then his oldest brother and wife went into labor, and then the 4 kids were staying there. So he has older siblings who have not been able to go past the 6th grade in education. He really loves education, has a really good teacher who gives them rides to school. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to get to school because busing hasn't been integrated yet. This is 1967. They have a terrible house. It's so poor. Like hardship after hardship after hardship keeps getting mentioned. And you know what? Those stories need to be told. That did happen. It just feels a little excessive. On top of that, the 2 sisters that he interacts with are not likable at all. They're mean. Like the younger one is like a spoiled brat. The older one is just like mean. And it seems like for no reason. He has a slightly younger brother. They're 11 months apart, who is very sick and hasn't been able to go to school. He's like the only likable sibling, and you don't really get to know any of the others. But then at the same time, Ellis Earl acts so immature. Like, I get that he's supposed to be 11 in this, and I get that 11-year-olds act immaturely, but sometimes he I don't know, it just seems odd. I do like the connection that they're making to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because I think that's a really apt comparison, and I love how much they love it, but I don't know that I'll be able to give this a rave review at the end of it.
A few hours have passed since I updated last. I haven't read anything else because that was, cleaning up after my long run, chilling, watching some booktube. I am actually going to do some puzzling. I don't know if you can see that puzzle down there very well. It is one of the Diagon Alley shops signs. I got the whole set from Noble Collection. I will say they make great replicas, but they don't do that great of a job on the puzzles. Not that the quality is bad, but as far as making them so that you enjoy your time, that's not their forte. But I still want to get them done, especially the shop signs, because I think they'll make great decoration. And I've completed the Ollivanders one, but frustratingly, one little piece on the outside is missing. So we shall see. I'm about to start, I think it's the Daily Profit one. Not gonna finish that tonight, but I'm gonna do that for a little while, and then I will spend a little bit of time finishing the Lucky Ones, and then I'm going to start The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue on audiobook in the evening. I'm gonna do some cross-stitching. So while I eat supper, I am finishing up The Lucky Ones, and I don't think this is a bad book. But what I said before about the author bringing in a lot of really difficult topics still stands. I just read a section, so the teacher is taking the boys, some boys from the class, including Ellis Earl, to greet Robert Kennedy, who was on a trip coming down to Mississippi. And it's a really great privilege. Ellis Earl's mom didn't want him to go. You know, it's risky. They are driving over there to Jackson, and they stop at a restaurant that has a sign that says that they don't serve. And the boys are all like, wait, can we go in there? And the teacher's like, yeah, it's integrated. But then, of course, they have a terrible experience. And then it comes to, like everybody's super subdued. Then they arrive at the airport, and they're getting excited again. But they see a bunch of police cars. The adults are saying, well, he's an important man. These are here to protect him. And the boys are like, wait, he's just one man. Why are there so many cars? Well, it turns out there's a protest. And there's legit racial slurs thrown at the group, which is several adults, because the parents of a couple of their kids came, and these children. And yes, I know that this occurred, but it just feels like the author is emphasizing these and throwing these in there. And I'm not doing a great job at explaining that, but having listened to Ashley from Booker's Realm talk about that, and the fact that so many of these books center on the trauma, center on the negative things that happen. This is a book clearly designed for the younger middle grade ages, like the Christopher Paul Curtis comparison that I made earlier. And to have this stuff thrown in like that, it bothers me a little bit. I did look up the author, and thankfully, because I was wondering if this was an Own Voices, and technically it is. She grew up in the Mississippi Delta, which I believe is where this is set. That definitely helps out a little bit. I might have more coherent thoughts when I finish it, but I just don't know that it comes together cohesively. So,
good morning. It is Sunday morning, a lot later than I planned, because I read one of the e-arcs that I have, even though the book actually has been published. The book was published the first of this month. But I read that this morning, and I didn't think it would take me very long in the actual reading. Did not take me very long. I just interspersed the reading with sleeping, but somehow did not drop my Kindle. I don't know how I have adapted that habit, because I've noticed it with like reading books. Sometimes I don't drop the book. I fall asleep, but I don't drop the book or the Kindle. I finished The Lucky Ones last night, and part of me feels like some of the other things that I've said have been kind of harsh. I don't think this is a bad book. I want to make that clear. This is not a bad book. It's not a good book either. It's not doing anything extraordinary. It's not doing anything that hasn't been done already. The fact that this book is doing something that I have read successfully done with authors like Christopher Paul Curtis, everything in the book kind of finished off like super happy with nice neat bow on top. And yeah, it's a kid's book, but this isn't romance with a happily ever after. My biggest problem with those glaring scenes at the restaurant and the airport, I know that those things existed, but the rawness with it, and then to end it the way that she did, I haven't cop-outed it yet, but it's probably going to be around a 3. It's not going to be below a 3 because it's a decent book. So then, the e-arc that I read, Solomar by Pam Munoz-Ryan. I was so excited when I got approved for this e-arc, and I definitely would have read it sooner. Number 1, if I'd had my Kindle. Number 2, if I had remembered about my e-arcs. I love Pam Munoz-Ryan's writing. I have loved Esperanza Rising, Naomi Leon. I think there's one other from her that I've read, but I can't remember the title. I love her middle grade that centers Latinx. And Solomar is gorgeous. So Solomar, the title character, she is a soon-to-be princess in one of the 12 kingdoms of Mexico. What Pam Munoz-Ryan does in this book, she takes the real place of Mexico and some real bits of history, what makes them so they're like super successful and puts it in a fantastical world. And I loved that. And Solimar sneaks out to see the butterflies. When she does this, she becomes gifted as like, she is the person who is going to help protect the butterflies, help the monarch butterflies survive. It's giving her an ability, but which hurts the butterflies, and which is when she's in the sunlight, someone asks her a question, she has to answer it, and she answers it truthfully. And it's like she's seeing the immediate future. But it hurts the butterflies. She has to balance that, especially because there's people who are against her father, one other of these kings. And she has to make sure that it doesn't fall into his hands. And along the way, as she's trying to get to her father, who has gone to this meeting with this person to try to make an alliance, she comes along, you know, she gains a friend, she has an animal companion, she has a magical doll who talks and is snarky. Is so much fun. I adored this book. I thought it did an excellent job. Definitely middle grade, but it did just a really good job talking about these different cultural aspects and historical aspects, and the way, and Solimar is just, I just love her. Now she reads young. This is a middle grades book, but she's supposed to be turning 15 and having her quinceañera. She reads young almost in the same way that Shiori does in Six Crimson Cranes, but that's targeted at a young adult audience. But because she reads young, it's perfect for middle grade. So I am definitely adding this book to my wish list, and yay, it's already come out, so I can get it, I don't know, whenever I want. So I highly recommend that book.
So we've come to Monday morning, last day of the vlog. I have high hopes for the amount of things that I can get read today, and I need to stay on track with completing my TBR, which you'll see in the next vlog if I'm able to make it or not. There are a couple things that I want to update on. One, I last night started Bone Shard Emperor. You can't tell because I've taken the dust jacket off, but I love this blue. As I read only 14 pages, but as soon as I started reading again, I went, of course I love this. Of course I love this. And as I mentioned in the video on TBR that's going to go up on Monday, the video right before this, that I've already pre-ordered the third book in the series even before reading the second book, and that's so unusual for me. Loving these 14 pages as much as I have definitely confirmed that for me. So I'm really excited about this. I also realized that I have not updated at all on The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And I started listening to that Friday or Saturday evening. I think it was Saturday evening. The first thing that I thought was that the narrator sounded a lot like the same narrator for Lore. And I really hoped that that wasn't the case because I didn't like Lore all that much. And so I looked it up. They're not the same narrators, but they sound a lot alike. It is quite a unique concept, and I don't have to spend too much time on it because The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is so popular. I am intrigued by what is going on for Addie and how this problem ultimately is going to get resolved. And I definitely don't like the darkness, the thing that she makes this deal with. He's utterly cruel for no good reason. He's supposed to be. Not supposed to like him. A lot of this sounds just like the whole scenario. It sounds utterly depressing. Not being able to have any place to call home, any way to write or draw or leave a mark on anything. Just for a historian, for someone who writes, who journals, who takes pictures, who chronicles things, this seems like my worst nightmare. I don't even mind the dual timelines and the fact that we're going back in time and seeing her life as it develops up to that point, because it starts off a lot of the chapters in the earlier timeline when she first is cursed. There's a lot all close together, and it doesn't like jump ahead for various years until a good ways into it. And I think that instead of telling things that you could just learn if you kept it in the 2014 timeline, it does add nuance to Addie as a character and also doesn't give anything away. And I'll say I've just gotten to the point where Henry reveals something, and I have to say, when I was trying to figure out the whole thing with Henry, the boy who can suddenly remember her after 300 years of no one being able to remember her, it was what I thought. But that felt satisfying. No, there's a way that, like, if you're thinking ahead and you're trying to figure it out, where it feels satisfying that that's the thing. And as opposed to, this is ridiculous, I figured that out way ahead of time. This was the satisfying kind. I think I'll end up finishing Addie LaRue in the next vlog. I have several audiobooks lined up, so I am trying to devote more time to that, which also helps me get my cross-stitch project done. Once it gets closer to actually being finished with that project and closer to giving it to the person it's intended, I probably will show it on a vlog or something. This morning I also read, so I hadn't been reading my daily stuff, so I read about 20 some pages in Fuentes del Silencio. I have to say, the twist that happens at the end, or towards the end, because I'm not quite done yet, kind of made me like, what? And almost like it's just like this slow build up, and then bam, this thing happens, and I'm going, wait, what? And so it's not like I'm not understanding the book because I'm reading it in Spanish. I wonder if it will have, like, how that will hit me when I read this in English, because I need to buy this in English, and I'll probably save more coherent thoughts for when I read it in English. So I read about 20 pages in here and about 20 pages, 16-ish pages in here, and this is more academic than other ones that I've read. She's very much, so it's published by Rutgers University Press. So it's a university press. She's been conducting studies, and it's about 10-ish years, 10, 15 years old, but it still is quite fascinating. I'm learning a lot through this. And then I also did manage to read another 40 pages or so in Permission to Feel. I plan to get to that at least 2 more times today because it's on my February TBR, and I need to actually get to reading it. To be productive, even though it's a day off, a holiday, I am going to finish making my PowerPoint for my lessons next week, and then I'm going to hold myself to this because, you know, tomorrow's the day I have to submit them. I'm going to do those observation reports. I might even put some footage of me typing on it. You won't be able to see the reports, obviously, but to hold myself accountable, I might put that in there. Just checking in real quick to say that I did it. I got the observations written finally, like a week later. Oops, but I'm checking in. I didn't take any B-roll of it, but I got them written. So that wraps up this week's vlog. As you saw in the last clip, I finished those observations. Super excited about that. I tried to be productive and then got my workout and stuff done in the middle of the day. I also was working on updating all of my reading logs. I let that, what's the word I want? I let that back up. So there was a few that I needed to do and get NetGalley sorted and all that sort of stuff. And so it's about 6:30 Monday night. I am going to spend some more time reading The Bone Shard Emperor, and then I'm going to finish off my evening with a couple hours of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, although runtime it'll be more than that because I listened to it at 2 times speed. So I read a lot of books this week. I finished Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. That was a big one. Finished that on audiobook. Read more than half of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, also on audiobook. I don't have the physical copy anymore, had to return that. I also read Solimar on my Kindle, which was an e-arc, which amazing. So these are the books that I read, at least partially this week. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one.